Brant, thanks, Brant. Let me I go down here to share, right? And can everybody see my screen?
We do
Is it
now. Yeah,
is it working?
it is.
Not bad for 83 to figure this stuff out. That's pretty good. Okay, well, Brad, thanks. I mean, you just about summarized the whole thing, but again, this is the purpose of this 20-minute session here is to give you kind of a quick overview of my hypothesis here that I think before it's nice to be out looking for jobs, but I would suggest that it's important that you first find yourself before you find your career, so that you're looking in the right direction. Brad did a great job of my bio, so I won't go over all of that. I mean, he summarized everything. I think the only part I'll add to that was after going through infantry OCS and singing every morning, I want to be an airborne ranger. I want to live a life of danger. I mean, it was a great 6 months for me doing that. But then I wound up commanding this intelligence unit in Vietnam. But when I got out, I can remember walking around San Francisco and looking at people walking into buildings and carrying briefcases, and I didn't know. I had no idea. I mean, I may have been a college graduate and an Army officer, but I had no idea about the world of work and what it was. All I had was a girlfriend who told me, you're not staying with me anymore, you lazy bum. Go out and get a job." I don't know if any of you can identify with any of that, but that was my motivation for us to go out and start. But it took 3 or 4 months to do that, and I wound up in sales with Pacific Telephone, San Francisco, and saw the Vince Lombardi film. Second Effort was the fact that we had passed the sales class. But the point of all that was I realized how tough it was for me to make that transition. And I'm hoping that this workshop and this idea of you learning more about yourself will help make it easier for you as you go about your search. So here's the idea: learn more about yourself and how that links with making a living. Now, one of the things that we do in the follow-up workshop is start right off with, "Hey, tell me your story." The hiring manager puts the interview guide aside and says, "I'd like to know a little bit about your personal story, where you grew up, your family, and I'd like to know a little bit about you. You got 5 minutes. Tell me your story." Now, I've tried this with a number of people, and the typical reaction is their pupils dilate, some saliva forms on the corner of their mouth, and they go into a deep hypnagogic trance. Or they say something like, "Well, there's not much to tell." But those aren't good responses to that question. So the goal of all this training that I'm talking about is if you get in that situation and someone says, "Tell me your story," you'll have a compelling story to tell them about yourself, and it'll relate to hopefully what they're trying to find in that job. So there's the problems. People don't know what to say. Civilian life can be a mystery for people. We're not that self-aware often. We don't spend a lot of time in most schools and colleges learning about self-awareness and figuring out what's your purpose. So the answer here is to find out more about yourself. And to have a plan and goals and to have a compelling story. These are the three, what we call the three A's. There's a psychologist that developed this very compelling developmental model of personality that includes these first A is that you're an actor. You're a social actor. You're interacting with other people. And so we're going to learn about some of your traits, how you come across with people, how people see you, and what that means, how you connect with people. Secondly, is to become an agent, to have agency, to have power and influence. I oftentimes ask people, who's driving the bus? Some people aren't sure, and those people are in trouble. Hopefully, when I ask that question and I ask who's driving the bus, you think to yourself, I'm driving the bus, hopefully. And then third, know who you are, that you're an author. We all create a story. We don't typically write it out or have it explicitly developed, but we all have a story about ourselves. So that's kind of the outline for the program. If you know about yourself, you have a clear goal and plan for yourself, and you're able to articulate a clear story about yourself, you're going to be in pretty good shape, I think. So that's the goal, to help you understand yourself, to get that interview and get the right job for you. This is an interesting blog from Seth Godin. 900,000 minutes versus 9 minutes. It takes a dermatologist 900,000 minutes to get trained, but it takes 9 minutes to win patients' trust, respect, and confidence. Now think about that and all of your experience that you've had and all the training. And the important part really is that first 9 minutes you have with the potential employer. It's when the hiring decisions are made. So shaping perception. So really what this is about here with learning about yourself in these 3 A's is about that first 9 minutes, that first impression. Now, the social actor, we're going to talk about two instruments, two assessments to help you understand how you present in the world. The Holland Code, the REASK, and social style. We could do a survey, but we don't have time for that, to see if you're hopefully you're somewhat familiar, maybe not, but it's okay. You're going to learn about these. The first is this Holland Code. Who are you? Holland developed a code, a very powerful code about 6 personality types. And they define you, your identity, your values, your interests. And this is a little mini assessment. Brad has a handout on this. Plus, I'm going to give you a suggested link where you can go online and take this mini assessment here. And you can see the code here, RIASEC. That's the Holland Code, these personality types. You could take that test later. But every job occupation has a Holland Code, 3-letter code. And it helps you describe your personality, your interests. It talks about the kind of person you want to be. The letters stand for: R is realistic, I is investigative, A is artistic, S is social, E is enterprising and conventional. And your code, the code for a particular job relates directly to it should hopefully relate to both your interests and a particular job. Now, what I'm going to suggest that you do, a little homework assignment for all of you, is you go online to ONET Interest Profiler. Just go into the Google and type in ONET Interest Profiler. You'll get to this page, and it immediately lets you take. In fact, I just did this myself a couple of weeks ago. It's free. The test is free. Takes about 5-10 minutes, and you'll get your occupational code, your Holland Code. Then you can go to ONET Online, a related site, and explore occupations that match your Holland. This is a very powerful kind of code that can help you link up to where you want to be. I mean, here's some examples. Light truck driver, realistic and conventional type. First line supervisor, enterprising, conventional, and social type. Chef, head cook, enterprising, realistic, and conventional. Now, just to give you an example, if this was a pastry chef, his code might be enterprising, realistic, and artistic, because pastry chefs are kind of creative. You get the idea? Computer systems analyst is an IC. So when I took this, I was an SEA, social, I was a psychologist, enterprising. I'm an entrepreneur. I work with CEOs. And artistic. I create stuff all the time, like 20-minute PowerPoint presentations for veterans that are trying to make a transition from the military to civilian. So you see, if you look at your job and the kinds of things that you're doing, how does it relate to your Holland Code? You're going to be successful if you're using your code skills. The second personality trait is what we call social style, or discets. And knowing your social style helps you identify and connect with people. Again, there's a short assessment for taking social style. We're not going to do this here, but basically just the first question will give you an idea. Is your basic need to control, or to be correct, to be right, to be secure, or to get attention? Those you can, again, Brad has the handout for this assessment, and you can take this. But this is basically the idea here is, and this relates to social style is not as well known today as this. You may have heard of a test called the DISC, DISC, and it's the same basic personality style as social style. So the D stands for dominance, the in charge type. The C stands for the cautious, or some instruments call it conscientiousness, that analytical problem solving type. The 3 is the amiable type, warm relationship, and the 4 is the expressive type. Now so there's the connection between social style and DISC. Now, this is a powerful model for connecting. Again, when you meet people and you come in contact with them and they smile, do you smile? If so, you're in that top responsive, warm, amiable, expressive. So really, you can just ask 2 questions to get your social style. When you connect with people, how are you do you respond to them, or are you more are you more reserved, more in control? And then the second question is, how assertive are you? How fast do you talk? How much of a control, how slow do you talk? So out of that, you get these 4 different style types. The driver, James Bond's a good example of that. The expressive, also assertive, but more fun-loving than the driver. And then you got the amiable, Mr. Rogers, and then you got the analytical type. A little short story that illustrates these 4 types. And think about which type you are. 4 knights in the Middle Ages are about to be hung. The gallows guy throws the lever, and the consigliere and it doesn't work. Nothing happens. The consigliere to the king says, "Hey, I think something happened here, Your Majesty. You should probably give these people a free ride." The king says, "Yeah, okay. You're all free to go." The driver jumps off the platform, storms over to the king. "See, I told you I was innocent," and storms off. The expressive knight jumps off the platform, goes over smiling, laughing, and saying, "Hey, King Buddy, thanks a lot. Off to the pub, drinks are on me." The amiable knight goes over to the king, genuflects, kisses his ring, and says, thank you, sire. I'm going home to my wife and family. I'll be loyal to you forever." And the analytical knight is under the platform, looking up, and responds, "I think I see where the problem is." Okay, so you get the idea. You're one of those types. No nonsense, fun-loving, creative, caring, amiable, warm, cautious, analytical, careful thinker. You should have a good sense of who you are, and you're going to have a better sense of that if you take the follow-up stuff. So we're all social actors. The Holland Code helps you understand yourself. The other part of this is your social style. That helps you identify others and connect with others. The idea here is to get along and to get ahead. Okay, so that's the social actor part. Now let's talk for a little bit about the agent, becoming a motivated agent. That's the part of you that sets goals, makes decisions, motivates, values, gets you to do what you want to do. I mean, I'll never forget, I'm at OCS lollygagging along on a Sunday afternoon, and the attack officer says, "Lynn, move with a sense of purpose." I mean, that's kind of what this agency is all about. It's moving and doing things with a sense of purpose. So first things you do is you want to set goals. And we're going to work on goals, talk about intrinsic goals, extrinsic goals, the get ahead goals of achievement, the get along goals, and then the goals to keep bad things from happening and goals to make good things happening. So those are just examples. And then in the follow-up workshops, have some time to draft some goals to match those goal statements. So goals translate desire into purpose, into motivation, wanting things, or help by having goals. I think we all know about that. Now, the next area of this agency are values, your moral foundations, spirituality, knowing why you do things, helps to give you purpose. Now, the basic types of values, basic or don't lie. You don't want to lie, cheat, or steal. Those are nice values to have. There's aspirational values to become a good man or woman. And then there are core values. And the important ones for you to work on, identify, are the core values. So a good way to do that is to look over your lifespan, identify milestone events and values associated with those events, and then consolidate those values. Pick your top 4 to 6 values that mean the most to you. There's kind of like a lifelong, and you could do that. Again, this is the kind of activity we would do in the 4-part workshop that would follow up on that. So, but here's one example of you want to define the value and give an example of the value and a non-example of the value. So let's take one. Hard work, industrious. Definition: you do the work, come early, stay late, keep at it, practice and practice. You're persistent. An example would be, working full-time and going to school full-time. The non-example would be living in mom's basement playing video games all day. Okay, you get the idea. So it's defining the values. Now, the the exercise for that is to have a life plan. And this is just a simple, in my case, just a simple one-page plan. I do it every year. I write a little one page. Here's an example of mine. It's got my purpose, helping others, teaching, kind of like what I'm doing now. Creative artist work is indispensable. Be the warrior, healer, learner, and teacher for identity. Values, freedom, independence, happy, healthy, serving others, learning, growing. So this is just an example. The idea is it would be good for you to have a one-page plan about what are you doing, what's your purpose, what are your values, where are you going. So now you know a little bit about how you act and show up, your traits, the importance of having goals and purpose. You're driving the bus and how to create that compelling plan. That's the actor and the agent part. The third and final part of these three A's is the author, the story. Now, we all have a lot of stories about ourselves. We typically don't have them written down, but I'd like you to write down 3 or 4 versions of your story with increasing levels of vulnerability, linking them with your current situation. In other words, you want to have the right story for the right audience. There's something called the Johari window, and in there's this area of you want to increase the arena, which is the area that you know, but it's not known by others. Some people are turtles; they don't share very much about themselves, and other people disclose everything upon just meeting people. You don't want to be either of those extremes. But the idea is to increase this area in your arena by being more transparent, being more vulnerable. Okay. Now, the idea here is to continue to show more challenges that you had in your story, and you want to be strategic about this. So here's the transparency exercise. Craft 3 stories about yourself with increasing levels of vulnerability. What was the theme of your life? And tell 3 versions. I'll give you some short examples of those 3 versions with me. For example, 1, after college, I joined the military, used the GI Bill, helped me become a psychologist. I got my own consulting practice now. Okay, that's superficial. It's fine. It's fine for a lot of uses. Example number 2, a little more detail. I grew up in Scranton, 5 siblings. After college, I joined the military, served in Vietnam as an intelligence officer, used the GI Bill to help me become a psychologist. I got my own consulting practice now, working with CEOs and their executive teams. But this tells me a little bit more about me. Now, sometimes I might want to share a little bit more about some of my early challenges. Go to example 3. My father was a pharmacist, died when I was 7. 3 months later, our family gets hit head on by a drunk driver. I learned how to survive and thrive with hard work and resilience, qualities I carry over into my life today. This third story is obviously a little more vulnerable. It's more transparent, and it's best reserved for, I don't go around sharing this with everybody I meet when they say, tell me your story. I don't tell them about all this stuff. It's when you need to be authentic and real and share a little bit more about yourself. It's powerful stuff. So the idea here is to think about your traits, your personality, those key parts of your personality, have a sense of your core values, your goals, your purpose, and to be able to weave that into a compelling short story about yourself. So when someone asks you tell me about yourself, you've got a short answer. Now, to wrap this up, the final little tip here is a nice little Navy psychologist tool. They developed this because SEALs were dropping out at unacceptable rates. It wasn't the physical stuff, it was the mental stuff. And they developed a 4-part step to help reduce Navy SEAL turnover, and they did it by a third. And the 4 steps were: set tactical goals, not I want to save the whales, but short 2-3 hour goals. I want to get to the beach. I want to get through the day without ringing the bell. Visualize the goal, have positive self-talk, take a couple breaths and do it. A quick example, my wife passed away a few years ago. People are coming by saying, Jim, we're sorry for your loss. Some neighbors came by that were basically hardworking farmer types. They took one look at the house and said, holy, this place is full of junk and that. Let us help you clean it up. And I thought about this Navy SEAL strategy. And that Saturday, the two people came over. They spent and we just worked on my wife's closet. They cleaned out the wife's closet, and then every week for about the next 6 to 8 months, they would come over and we do a SEAL team strategy and straightened up and cleaned up the house. And we did it one small step at a time. So this is a powerful little strategy for getting work done to help you lead happy, productive kind of lives. So the idea here is the happiest people know who they are. They work in jobs that they enjoy, and knowing who you are can lead to doing what you love. I mean, that's my hypothesis and pitch on all this stuff. So if you want more, I'm suggesting we do a 4-part Zoom follow-up on these dates in 2 weeks, February 6th, Monday and Thursday, February 16th, 19th, 23rd, and 26th, 1 hour Zoom meeting from 5 to 6, where we go over in detail all the stuff we're just covering in this short 20 minutes. Do the self-assessments, start crafting your development plan, and use this Navy SEAL activity to help implement your plan. Here's some resources for you to take a look at, and some references that relate to the ideas behind the 3 A's and all that sort of stuff. And there's my contact information, and that's all I got. Any questions?
And I just posted Jim's information in the chat too, so you'll have it in the chat.
How was I on time, Brad? Did I keep it 20
You
minutes?
actually did it, but I helped you a little bit with my intro.
Yeah, you did. You did.